Hello, greetings, and welcome to the very first ever Garage 57 podcast. With me tonight is a very short man from Georgia named Jack.
Hello.
A slightly taller man from Jersey named Dan.
Hello.
And a very tall encyclopedia named Pat.
Hello.
And my name is Swin.
Tonight we're going to be talking about, we're going to start off with IMSA and Shank. The discussion about what are they going to do after, if they do get the GT3 Acura deal.
Step one, fire John Pugh. Step
Seems
two,
like
hire
perfectly
good
reasonable.
drivers.
Hello?
That's all I can think about. But I'm guessing, if they do get it, I'm guessing Acura will provide them with drivers, so Peter Cox will probably be one of them since he's handling the bulk of the development driving for the strange conglomeration of Honda Japan, Honda HPD, and Jazz Sport out of Italy who are building the car. So yeah, someone else pick it up.
Well, as I am, as always, the least informed on this sort of issue, I need a sort of too long didn't read. I've forgotten the word I want. Fantastic.
Summary?
Why? Yeah, there you go. That'll do. A summary of it.
So basically, there's a short list of who's going to run the NSX GT3 car in IMSA next year, and Shank is probably going to be, and Shank is on the short list, and they're the ones tipped to get the.
Okay, so they would go from
the,
running a
contract.
prototype.
Yes. They are currently running
so
a
they'd go
They'll
from-
go from running. Correct.
That's right. They'd go from that Ligier down to GT 3D with a Honda NSX.
Correct.
Well, that's fine by me. That's more GT cars on the grid.
Okay.
Yep. I can't disagree with that, but my biggest problem is what's going to happen in real time over in World Challenge, because they're currently the other Honda factory team in the. They're currently the Honda factory team,
Yes.
or Honda Acura factory team in America, and so far I have heard nothing about what their plans are for next year when it comes to their TLX versus NSX. I know that Peter Cunningham is now on full-time NSX development duty because Spencer Popelli has taken his number 42 for the rest of the year.
Well, I would
But
assume they
what
would
do you think's
move to the
gonna happen
NSX
there?
eventually when it's ready, like maybe 2018, and still run the, what is it, that glorified Honda Accord, essentially, in PWC?
It is expected to run next year. GT3.
Okay, then. One would assume that NSXs would suddenly appear in IMSA and PWC.
Yes. What's to stop them running both?
I'm on.
Well, it's two different teams.
Yeah, it's two
So
separate
it's-
teams,
uh,
two separate
money.
championships. They're not competing with each other.
Just divvy out the cars to the two teams and go, there you go, don't crash it.
Well,
Much.
I mean, Honda Acura HPD has got so much on their plate. I would hate to see it, but I wouldn't be all that surprised if they decided only one gets to run
Yeah,
next year.
that would make sense.
Because they're still busy with IndyCar. They're probably going to build a DPI
Oh, that's true.
for 17. And now they have now they are
Well,
developing
would they
and
do a
building a brand new
DPI?
GT3
If they've
car.
confirmed that they've got a brand new GT entry, why would they do both classes? That seems a little pointless. I mean, if Ford are definitely saying we're not bothering with
Because-
prototypes, we're sticking with our GT program, surely Honda would do the same thing.
I don't think so, because Acura especially, has always been about both pushing the street car and showing what they can do. It's all Acura's marketing has always been about their sportiness and how they can outrace everybody, including Porsche and Audi and everybody else. Which is, which if you remember back in the late 2000s when they ran several, I'd say 2 or 3 factory teams in the ALMS, be it, DeFerrin or Highcroft or even Andretti Green, they were pretty, they laid on the marketing and they laid it on pretty thick.
Yeah. Well,
That made no sense, I apologize.
I suspect that Shank are actually looking to get rid of their prototype. I think they're realizing they're wasting money on it.
I'm not surprised either, because if they don't get rid of it, they're going to be at least 50 horsepower down for next year. Not to mention, I'm guessing several thousand pounds worth of downforce.
Well, mind you, this current car won't be eligible next year. They'll have to buy a new one. Oh, that's a good point. They'd have to buy a new one either way, and if they're getting it provided by...
No, 2016 cars are eligible for next year, but they have to run in 2016 spec.
I will put my hand up and say I missed.
So there's no bodge job upgrade done to the current cars.
They'd be so not only would they be stuck, 50 horsepower down and a lot of downforce down, but they'd also be stuck, again, with a Pro-Am lineup in basically an all-pro.
So essentially, they're going to become a glorified PC class for next year. Essentially, of just these older cars floating around by themselves, essentially. Like, they're a bit quicker than the GTs, and they're clearly slower than the DPI, so they're just there,
Which is kind of going to end, which it will end up with, unless somebody brings out a customer DPI car, which we have not seen yet.
Happen at all, because the whole point of DPI was for it to be manufacturers. I don't see anybody bringing out a customer one, or bringing a privateer version. I mean, it would be a bit pointless to me.
Not even someone like Dallara, who's been building chassis for generations now.
Dallara, I would not doubt, are building at least one of the... Dallara are making the tubs for everything. I'm not sure who exactly is making the bodywork for them all, but Dallara is one of the manufacturers of the tubs. Or one of the approved. They're one of the US ones.
Okay. Because I'm assuming Riley wouldn't continue now that they've got their actual LMP3 car.
Riley cannot continue if memory serves. They are not one of the approved chassis manufacturers.
Jack, you're going to have to choke up on your mic. I can barely hear you.
They are not one of the approved chassis manufacturers, so they cannot.
Oh, they have to be approved now.
Yes, okay. That's the deal with P2, is it became effectively a semi-spec series, in that there are only 5 or 6 approved manufacturers of tubs.
That's right, and they've all got the same engine, haven't they?
There's 4 tubs, 1 engine. Which is like the racing version of 2 Girls, 1 Cup.
That does sound like a bit of a series killer.
Yeah, Swinny,
no one is.
I'm not exactly happy with it.
We were all really outraged when this came out.
No, I don't.
Because
I remember when it came out.
Because everyone, it's a perfectly healthy series now, stronger than it's been in a very long time, possibly its entire history.
Stronger than P2. Stronger than P2. Oh, sorry. I was about to say it's stronger than P2 has been since 2007, 2008, when Acura and Porsche were beating the shit out of each other and then beating the shit out of Audi too.
675, not 900 kilo cars. And that is so. That's why everyone was outraged, Swinny. It was a matter of, this is the healthiest this class has ever been. Why are we changing it now?
I remember when I first read about it and heard about it. It was very much a case of, this isn't broken. Why are you trying to fix it?
Yes.
No, that's a silly idea.
Yes.
whilst this is an interesting tangent, I would like to move on with a slightly different prototype topic, as we're on the topic of prototypes, and going back to IMSA, is seeing that, and I love the just pure speculation behind all this, but the article I saw the other day that said that one Roger Penske might be interested in fielding a pair of DPIs next year, which, as a bit of a Penske fan, interests me and excites me greatly. The question is, what the hell would he use? Because he's got ties with Ford quite heavily at this point, and Chevrolet with IndyCar. So no one's quite sure what on earth they're going to use.
I guess I'm taking that one step at a time because quite honestly, Penske has been linked with a prototype for basically every year since 2010 when Porsche stopped supporting them in Grandin. But if there is if there's a year to do it, it would be this year. The change in regulation presents a very fertile time for new teams to jump in. I mean, and I think the question isn't who he's going to run with. The question is who doesn't want to run with Roger Penske.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
I mean, I don't think his name would be enough to convince, say, a Bentley or a Mercedes or somebody like that, a new manufacturer, to jump in and play ball. But I'm 100% sure that any manufacturer that already has a DPI would love to have their name right next to Roger Penske.
Yeah, because I mean, I just see that as being a kind of a no-brainer because Roger Penske doesn't really do anything half-assed. He pretty much just goes all in with stuff.
No, see, I thought you were going to say there, Roger Penske doesn't really do losing.
He also doesn't do losing for the most part. But...
No, the closest he's got to losing is the
either.
V8 supercars right now, only because he's with Dick Johnson Racing and they're not quite as good as they once were. But they could still contend for race wins.
Yeah, and that's not a full.
Happily.
That's not a full Penske effort either.
No, it's a partial thing because it's in partnership with Dick Johnson. But yeah, I mean, they've got so many ties at Ford. It would really make a lot of sense that if they could find that privateer DPI chassis builder, all they need to do is just drop an EcoBoobs lump into it. Hey presto, they've got a Ford engine in a prototype chassis and they're ready to go. The difficult bit would be finding that chassis. And I don't see Roger Penske spreading himself too thin and going and picking up a third manufacturer, because I think that's going to irritate Ford and Chevy to such a degree that it might end up hurting him more in his other teams, you know?
Yep. If it's anybody at the moment, I would just go with Cadillac.
Yeah, because that means he's 2 for 2 essentially.
Yep. I don't see Ford coming to play in Dippy just because they're so focused on that bloody prototype of a GT car.
You mean that gorgeous prototype of a GT car?
That bloody prototype of a GT car. I have my own views on that. I won't share on this.
Because you clearly just didn't, but whatever. Moving on.
But anyways, I don't see Ford. Yeah, I don't see Ford doing a DPI at all. If Penske had to go with anybody, it would be GM. If it had to be anybody outside of GM, I would have to say it would probably be somebody within the VAG group, either a Porsche or an Audi.
Yeah, and well, let's face it, he has history with Porsche.
True. Although I doubt Porsche and or Audi would want to run a DPI as well as an LMP1. That's a lot of money to be spending.
I mean, they already have an engine.
Yeah, they already have
several
engines.
engines
Well,
that they could run in DPI.
They already have the engines. They have basically they have a tub because it has to be one of the base tubs. All they have to do is design the bodywork, and once you already have the tub and everything, that's a relatively simple task. I'm not saying it's easy, but you have the framework there.
Yeah. No. Compared to having to build a tub and crash testing it, designing bodywork just requires, wind tunnel and CFD time along with the expertise.
And let's face it, they have that.
And if there's anything that the VAG group knows how to do, it's lay up carbon fiber, considering they run 2 LMP1 programs.
It's very true.
Yeah. And also they have confirmed that they are not running 3 cars at Le Mans in 2017 either. So they do have a little bit more money than they're used to having.
Well, I think they're still used to having even less money because they're still feeling the shock of that.
This is true.
Yeah.
Dieselgate.
Yeah, I would argue that's more due to the fact that that's probably them more saying we can't, but masquerading it as, oh, we don't want to. Because they just can't afford that budget right now.
I suspect you may be right on that one. And who knows, there may be a thing from Toyota asking kindly, hey, we can only afford 2. Would you guys mind doing 2 as well? And Porsche and Audi, being frankly the gentleman teams they are, saying, we don't have too much of a problem with it, as long as neither one of us run 3.
Since when did anyone in high-level professional racing be nice to each other like that?
Come to sports car racing, Swinny.
Well, 2012. 2012, when Toyota came in, Audi said we'll take a performance break in order to let Toyota catch up.
Well, that's news to me.
Which was
Teams
very
being
nice of
nice
them,
to one
wasn't it?
another. That's bloody unheard of where I come from.
Swinny, that's because you watch too much British
Yeah,
touring cars.
and there is nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that, but they're all assholes.
What Daniel Hounsel could confirm now that he should be here. Dan, say hello, please. Sometime today, maybe.
Dan, you gonna leave us hanging? Hello, Dan. He is here. I can confirm he's here. But he's not saying anything.
Okay, let's should we table
put a pin in that
Butik
one
for the moment. Let's table Butik and go to WEC.
So WEC and IMSA splitting up at Coda, no longer sharing that weekend.
He's not trying now.
WEC is going to have 2,000 people there, all from the Audi Owners Club, and Porsche.
Yeah, and IMSA will have
and
900.
Porsche Owners Club.
Hello, Dan. Oh, he's gone.
Nope, he's gone.
Okay, well, Dan will be back in a moment. We're experiencing some technical difficulties. Hello, Dan. Can you hear us? Never mind.
I think he can hear us.
Anyway, okay, we will move on. Hello, Dan.
Oh, there he is.
Hello, Dan.
Yay, it
well
works.
done. All right.
Hooray!
Okay. So, as I've just answered about 5 different
Yay.
questions that you guys asked while I was somehow on mute.
Thank you,
Well
Martin
done
Haven.
there.
Teams being nice to each other. Rebellion pulling 1 car for Bicolis and the P1 Privateers. British touring cars. Amazing. Teams not so nice to each other. I'm just getting into it though, so I really can't be the expert on that one. So yes. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. Christ's sake. Okay. Well, we're just gonna sit here and talk small talk while our audience.
Yeah, how's the
to
weather up there?
zero.
How is the weather in
It's good. It's good. Seen any good movies lately?
No. But you saw a very amazing race.
I did. Yes, I watched the BTCC this weekend. Not in person, unfortunately.
No, you didn't fly out to Scotland.
For that. No, I didn't.
Yeah,
Sadly,
yeah,
the
shame.
Concorde doesn't fly anymore.
But yeah, I have to say the British touring cars is my new favorite thing. The racing is fantastic, and it's down to a few reasons. And I'm still learning about it. So first of all, it's more of a privateers championship.
Yes.
Manufacturer support is really kept at a minimum. In fact, when is the last time that factory teams were in TGCC?
The 2000 and something. So we had the Super Touring era in the 90s where there was whopping great big budgets and there was like at least 11 different manufacturers showing up. No, less than that. 8, 9, 10-ish on a good day. All with a pair of cars each, right? And then the budgets got literally too big. So ProDrive spent £1 million on a Ford Mondeo.
What?
Which is... It's one of my favourite race cars of all time, but that is a bit stupid. To which then they all literally pulled out. 2001, there was no one but Vauxhall left, and there was no one but Vauxhall for a very long time. And then Seat came and played for a bit, and then they buggered off again, as did Chevrolet. So I think oh god, this is going to be an interesting wrap. Yeah, I want to say the last year that Vauxhall competed as a full-on manufacturer would be about 2009-ish.
Okay.
Maybe a bit later on. But then after that, Honda came back to play, but they came back to play in a very limited sense in that it was far more team dynamics running Honda Civics with a tiny bit of manufacturer support. So really like a sort of prototype for how they do it nowadays, which is the team runs the cars. It's all down to the team and their budgets and whatnot. They just get a little bit of R&D support here and there from the manufacturers.
And you're talking about the Honda US Halfords team?
Yes, yeah, that's team dynamics. They used to run Honda Integras back in the day with Halford's sponsorship, and before that, yes.
Swinny, if you don't mind me asking, what kind of R&D can you do on a car that has a spec engine?
You'd be surprised. I mean, they're not all spec engines. For one, there is there's the Toka engine, which you can get from. That is the spec engine you can put in the car. You can build your own one. There's no problem with that. Motorbase with Ford Focuses do use a Ford EcoBoost engine. It's perfectly within the regs. It's just not the spec Toka engine. So there's a little bit more that can be played with there.
Oh, fair enough. I guess
That's
my
fine.
ignorant American is showing right now.
So what's going on this season? We have a close battle for the championship with Sam Chordoff leading the standings.
Yes, it's always a close championship. I mean, when I went to see him last year for the season finale, there was 5 different people that could, in theory, win it. And I got to watch Gordon Shedden fly through the field at race 3 to finally clinch the championship, because I think he got into a crash or something race 2, so he started like 30-something for race 3, and he needed to finish 6th or higher to maintain the lead of the championship. So he was on the drive of the century. Like, it was so much fun watching this Honda just pass and push people out of the way, because it was like, no, he's coming through whether you like it or not. And so a lot of people were just like, yeah, he's racing for a championship. I'm just going to move over here and run a little bit wide. And, oh, look, the Honda got me. Whoops. Moving on with my life.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was.
You love to see that kind of video game stuff in real life, which you don't really get all the time.
No.
It depends, on the series, but the BTCC always offers like that really close wheel-to-wheel racing, usually pretty clean at the front, I might add. It's interesting to bring up Gordon Shedden, though, because he was on fire this weekend, but a little bit upset about the top speed of his car.
That's
which
nothing
he felt
new.
Was inadequate to the Subaru in front of him.
Well,
with Colin Turkington in race 3.
The Subaru...
Racing driver complaining about not having enough speed. Shocking.
yeah, right.
Well, you'll see where I'm going with this in a minute, because...
As much as... And isn't...
No,
Gordon Shedd,
not
like, the
by a
whiniest
long
BTCC
shot. He's one of the,
driver?
the calm, oh well, guys. Yeah, Matt Neal and Jason Plato have been there the longest, and they're also the most... They've been there the longest
I was
and
about
the
to say,
most
and
whiniest.
Potato.
So I believe, it was Plato actually in
fuck.
third. Sorry, but it was a Subaru in third. And it's interesting that Shedden was complaining about top speed because in the post-race interviews, Jason Plato had the same exact complaint about not being able to pull away from the Honda that apparently didn't have the top speed of the Subaru.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see these guys go round and round about this.
This is what we do for politics in our series.
Yeah. It's on-track politics,
Yeah,
not
it's the best form.
not stuff going on in the steward's room. Yeah.
It's kind of funny because not being able to pull away from anybody sounds like parody to me.
Yeah, well, the thing is...
no one can pull away from anyone.
The thing is, that Subaru is a brand new car, and everyone's a little bit scared of it because it's almost done a Ford, right, with their GT. It's been built so well to these regulations that people are piss scared that in the next couple of years it's going to dominate, and no one's going to be able to touch this big rear-wheel drive estate car of a Subaru, which is basically a legacy with a brand new name. And Lavorg, yeah,
That's the
it is a
funniest
bit of a silly
goddamn
name. But I mean, the complaint of people going, "Oh, I've not got enough power. He's got too much." That's been going on for generations. I mean, back in the Super 2000 era, when Honda first started showing up again with those Civics and Team Dynamics, they had turbos, and they were one of the only teams that did. And their turbos gave them a lot of speed, but it also ate up their front tyres. So they would go really, really quick for the first half of the race, and then their tyres would just fall off the edge of a cliff, meaning everyone else could catch up and potentially pass them. Which sounds kind of fair, right? Not to Jason Plato. He spent every single post-race interview that year complaining he didn't have a turbo on his Chevrolet.
I'm seeing a pattern here.
Yeah, exactly, right? And Plato and Matt Neal and Matt Neal's dad, Steve Neal, have never got on with each other. Like, ever since the 90s, they've never got on with each other. They've had fights before. It's comical. They've because they're the two old guys and they're the veterans, they tend to get put into interviews together quite a lot. So they have to act jovial and quite nice to each other. But then they get on the track and you can see the dislike, the long-seated dislike.
And didn't those two almost
yes,
come
they
to
did
blows
almost come
on-
to blows at Rockingham 3 years ago now. On television, full-on NASCAR
on
style.
television. It was brilliant.
Yeah, and then Shedden being
Oh, it
a
was
long-standing teammate of Matt Neal also probably isn't fond of Plato at this point because, you know, you hear so much from one person, you start to believe it. Yeah, they've been at each other's throats for God knows how long, and it's almost background noise at this point where you're like, oh, he's complaining about the other one again. Okay, all right, I'm gonna go and get on with my life and, you know, pay attention to the rest of the series. So I wouldn't look too much into Shedden and Plato complaining that neither of them had the straight line speed on the other. Because it's not new.
It's just comical.
It's not new at any point.
It's great theater though,
and that's
which is
yeah. And
partially
that,
why
like
you
you're saying that's kind of what the BTCC is about in a way.
Yeah.
It's, you know, not to overemphasize the show aspect, but it is a show, and they put it on well. Now, talking about Subaru,
Yes.
and people's fear that they might run away with this Lavorg car.
Yes.
If it gets any better, how would the BTCC then fix that?
Well, I mean, we have success ballast
Or would they
already,
fix it?
right? So,
Okay.
Alan Gow, being the genius that he is and the series director, he's a crafty bugger. Alan Gow is, right? He will find some way to, like, knock the Subarus back a little bit, because this is what we've thought for a while. Because Motorbase and their Fords couldn't find sponsorship last year, right? So they they said they can't afford the whole season. So Alan Gow was like, well, rules state that you have to be there for the whole season. That's the point of the licensing system. But you've been here for ages, and you're a stable of the grid. You deserve to be here. Take half a year off to try and get the funds for the second half of the year. They did. Matt Jackson showed up with an unsponsored white Ford Focus with just a big black line down it, an EcoBoost written on the side, and he won a lot of races in the second half of the season. And we couldn't help thinking to ourselves, maybe Mr. Gow allowed them to turn the wick up on that EcoBoost engine just a little bit more, just to help a struggling team find some sponsorship and stay in the competition. And if this Subaru gets too quick and too good, I can see Mr. Gow doing something similarly crafty to bring them back. Now, I'm not going to use the immortal phrase BOP because we don't do that sort of thing here. But it's close enough too, you know?
This is interesting.
Yeah. As I say, we already have success ballast, so you win a race, you get an extra 45 kilograms on your car, which is a lot.
That is a lot of weight.
It is a lot.
It's really a lot of weight.
Yes,
That's a lot of
it's
weight.
a lot. And I think you get it's 25 for second and then 10 for third or something along those lines. I think the top three finishers all get success ballast. I can't remember exactly the weights for
I'm having a look now.
second and third. Thank you.
Well, we should just quickly say that Matt Jackson was the winning driver in the third race this weekend.
Yes, he is, because he's a bloody good driver.
Really good performance there. And Matt Neal and Jason Plato were the other two race winners.
Yep,
Just mentioned.
of course.
But, yeah, I mean, part of me doesn't like to see a fixed competition, but it's a little bit different in BTCC because I think it's more of a friendly atmosphere in the paddock. It's because it's not driven by manufacturers.
Yeah.
Who would be at each other's throats for that.
I mean, they're all
yeah.
they're all squabbling over each other for sponsorship, obviously, because they're all privateers. They need to fund themselves somehow.
Right.
But then there is that sort of camaraderie, especially when it comes to like for example, BMR, the team that runs Subaru, used to run for Volkswagen CCs, which is basically a big roly-poly Passat. And then Warren Scott, the team owner, who I believe used to race bikes, once he got the Subaru contract and these brand new cars were coming in, what was I saying? Yes, once he got the new cars in, he sold off his VWs pretty damn cheaply to a club team who were running, I don't know what, some sort of club series somewhere, so they could come and compete in the BTCC. So those VWs are still there this year under a different team because Warren Scott went, here you go, I've got these cars that are prepped and ready to go. They're yours for this much. Done. And he even loaned out one of his old drivers, Aaron Smith, who's a good driver, but he may have... The team weren't particularly happy with him last year because they feel he didn't block Shedden enough in that giant charge that he made to win the championship. Because if he hadn't have done that, Plato would have won the championship in that VW. Yeah,
okay.
So they weren't particularly happy with Aaron Smith for that front. So they were like, yeah, you can go racing our new B team running our old cars. So he's suddenly mid-pack in an older car that's not getting the development it once did. Which is a shame, because he's a good driver.
This is Team BKR, right?
Yes, that's what they're called. That's the one. Yeah, Burger King Racing that isn't Burger King Racing.
I have the success ballast amounts. It's
Oh, go on.
It's more harsh than you thought, Swinny.
Oh, really?
The winner gets 75 kilos.
They've upped it then. I'm still
What?
on, like, Super 2000 spec.
What?
Success ballast then.
Second place gets 66 kilos. Third, 57. Fourth, 48. Fifth, 39. Sixth, 33. Seventh, 27. Eighth gets 21. Ninth gets 15. And 10th gets 9 kilos.
Wow!
Wow.
Everybody
Is
gets
there-
some ballast.
Is there success
Not
ballast for
even
getting
super-
pole? Because I want to see there is. I want to say there is.
I'm not seeing that.
No, maybe not then.
Yeah.
Not even Super GT has that much success
But-
ballast. And theirs is
But you
pretty
look
crazy.
at that success ballast, right? This is why we've had... Before Knock Hill, we had... Oh no, before... Snetterton? Croft? One of them. before the mid-season break, I think it was, is we had 10 different winners in 15 races. What other series can say they've had that? 10 different winners in 4 or 5 different manufacturers.
Probably some kart, well, not manufacturers, but probably some kart championships where the same people don't turn up from week to week. That's the only other place I can think of where you can claim that many winners.
Well done, you found a loophole. But my point still, in professional racing, where else do you see that?
And you can't even say that about Blancpain because they don't have 8 races.
Exactly. You know, not even NASCAR's managed to come to that. They've got like 6 different winners in
3 manufacturers.
double the amount of races.
And they've got a lot more to try for.
Yeah.
By which I mean more chances for different people to win because there's just more entrants.
Yeah, but there's no success ballast. So the teams that aren't quite there can't get quite there.
God, can you
Exactly.
can you
Are
imagine
always
trying to
not right
explain
there.
Success ballast to NASCAR fans.
They just call it a commie dumbass. and punch
That's
him in
not
the face.
freedom orientated.
It's
Yeah,
actually a very socialist way of doing it.
It's not my fault. None of it was my fault.
Oh,
To
it's
be clear,
hilarious.
I'm not saying the NASCAR fan couldn't understand it. I'm saying it would be difficult to make them accept it.
Okay, you're calling them
Just
set in
so
their
we're not
ways,
making
not
fun of
stupid.
anyone.
Right, we're with you now.
I mean, most of us don't like success ballast.
Yeah, it's a necessary evil in some
Yeah,
kind of
it's-
motorsport, yeah.
It
As
is
I
a
say,
very
it's the reason why
necessary-
we had 10 different winners in 15 different races. It's the reason why, you know, the success ballast and then the reverse grid for race 3 is why we get first time winners more often than not, because, you know, the rookie that shows promise who hasn't got any success ballast on his car finished 10th or 9th, so he's got a little bit of success ballast, but you know, he's not got that much. In race 2, and then the random grid draw happens, they draw number 9, so suddenly he's on pole with a much lighter car than everyone else around him. And so, yeah, and you have first-time winners that way. I think it really is sort of possibly the key as to why the season it has done so well. That and the fact that the NGTC program is, and the regulation set is really easy to do. Like, it's not hard to build a new car for it.
Oh shit.
It finally hit its stride.
Well, because it
after
took a few years
of
to come into
infants.
effect, because it was a bit like, whilst it is a relatively cheap way of building and running a race car, it was an expensive upgrade from the Super 2000 chassis cars. So you had teams that didn't have quite as much money, couldn't afford to do it yet. So West Surrey Racing and Motorbase were still running Super 2000 cars right up until like 2012 or 2013. And those older BMWs and Fords were really showing their age by the end of it because they just couldn't keep up. Even with like brand new teams like Rob Austin Racing turned up with those pair of the one Audi A4 back then, just Sherman, no sponsorship on it. But even he was beating the eBay liveried West Surrey Racing BMW, which had won a championship because his was an NGTC Audi and theirs was a Super 2000 BMW. Yeah, so once every
enough.
single team had an NGTC car, and then once they brought in this licensing systems which said, if you're going to run, you need to make sure you have sponsorship that lasts you the whole season so you can run every single race. Because Alan Gow was getting a bit annoyed at start and park teams where they'd show up for one race with a bit of sponsorship, be at the back, and then try and show up for another race and just never unload the car because they can't afford to. Which is
That's actually
NASCAR
really
have.
smart. I
That's
think
why they've only
NASCAR
got
should
40
take a look
cars
at
this
that.
year. Because the top 35 all have a license, and they're all scheduled to run every single race because they've confirmed they can. And then you have the back 5, which all qualify in on speed. So it's sort of like their old point system thing, but better.
That's not it.
Yeah.
Okay, carry on.
Oh, okay.
No,
You forget I don't really pay attention.
I love
to
the
NASCAR
irony that
much.
I'm the only one that pays attention to NASCAR and I'm the only non-American here. It's brilliant.
You're the one that has to try the
You're
hardest.
the,
to get
and
it.
you're the Brit.
We have to like almost try and avoid it.
Yeah.
Yeah, do we have to avoid it, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Well-
I will say, have been to America, can understand what you mean. You walk into a bar and there's an old school Dale Earnhardt Jr. number 8 with a Budweiser logo through it in every single bar. Or there's a Rusty Wallace number 2 with,
absolutely.
with Miller Lite through it. Or there's a, Sterling Marlin 40 and a Coors, symbol through it. So I understand what you mean.
But let's not. Don't get me wrong. I love NASCAR.
There's a
Like, I don't want to be the podcast that just shoots down NASCAR all the time. But that is pretty cool that a motorsport series is that big to have numbers in bars.
Mm-hmm.
But how cool would that be if it was WEC? Imagine if you had the WEC car number decals in bars the same way.
Or rather, the silhouette of the P2 car with the beer sponsor
Right.
written on it. It's a whole new.
Yeah, the problem is that there are no sponsors.
That would be
involved
step
because
one.
they're all
Would be you'd need to
factory
somehow
teams.
coerce the giant sponsors who don't even want to sponsor NASCAR anymore. You'd need to coerce those giant sponsors to go. Look, here's this other form of motorsport that a fraction of the people watch.
But
You
they
want
watch
to,
it
you
for
know, you
longer.
want your, but they watch it. They watch it for longer.
NASCAR doesn't have a 24-hour race, do they?
Oh my God! Now there's an idea. 24 hours of Bristol. Go for it.
Oh my God.
That'd be pretty cool.
And, and it's lap
They would let it-
1,423,312.
No one would be left.
There has never been so much. There's never been so much projectile vomiting. In the
As
world.
much as I don't enjoy the drama and the BS that surrounds NASCAR with their silly chase for the season and all the rest of it, the actual racing itself is pretty good. The Gen 6 with the low downforce package is a damn good race car.
Gotten better, yeah.
I do agree. From what I have seen, low downforce makes
Yeah,
me
low
feel like
downforce
I'm,
and mechanical
5
grip,
or
that's
6
where the
again.
racing's at.
Yes.
But yes, we may have exhausted talk of saloon car racing enough.
Tennis.
All right. Jack,
What?
what's next?
Did you say tennis?
No, we're not talking about the
You
Olympics.
can't say that. That sporting event going on in South
Oh
America.
crap! You're right.
There isn't a motorsport event in Olympics yet, therefore.
That isn't the Brazilian Grand. That
You
isn't
can't
the
use
Brazilian
that
Grand
word,
Prix or the
Smitty.
6 hours of Sao Paulo.
There's cycling, and some teams put motors in bicycles
you go.
illegally. But
How about this? The event
Yeah.
taking place at
Yeah.
what used to be Yakrapagua.
The event with
I like it.
sports
We tried to
balls.
move on and we
we
immediately
go.
hit a tangent.
Well,
We're
because,
amazing.
because someone used a word they're not allowed to use.
What? What word?
The O word.
what, tennis?
The O
What?
word.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Technically not allowed to say that.
Funny.
So,
The fake Audi logo.
so I've been
Yes,
thinking
yes.
if motor racing,
The fake. Brilliant.
the many rings,
They're
more
multicolored
rings
too.
than
It's
Audi.
rainbow rings.
The lion can't jump through Audi's.
Okay. Anyways, getting back on track.
So if any motor racing car could be used to hold motor racing at the event that they destroyed Yakrapagua for,
Golf
what
carts.
do you think they'd use?
Ooh.
Oh, we're still on the tangent.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course. Embrace the tangent.
Who is the host here? Just
Golf carts.
Embrace tangents. That's
Golf carts. I'd like to see top level sporting day that takes place over 2.5 weeks. Level karting. That would be interesting.
Could it be better? Sure.
karting would be. I was thinking Super League Formula cars, that big V12.
I'd like to see something vaguely like IROC Series-esque, where everyone gets a spec car. So, no, not IROC. No, a mix of IROC and A1GP. So it's everyone gets a sort of spec car that's essentially the same, but liveried up in a different country, because that's, the driver is of that country, etc., etc. That's how a motorsporting event for the O word should work.
I can't. I really want to go down.
They should just do a race of champions.
Yeah, really.
I agree that it is basically Race of Champions.
Yeah, not on
except
a
taking place
giant
at a
glorified
real
scale
track
electrics
and not
track.
a track.
Now I'm better than me.
Well, that's what's fun about race of champions.
Well, yeah, but that's its gimmick.
Does everybody remember seeing Michelle?
No, but I
Mouton
remember
roll
seeing
Rowdy?
some complete unknown called Heikki Kovalainen beat Schumacher, and everyone was like, "Who the hell is this?" And he was a weird Finn because he was smiling
Funniest
and he
thing
was
I
laughing and he looked happy that he beat Schumacher. It was very strange.
Yeah, and Schumacher probably was just as like, this is just fun. This is just for fun.
Do you remember when that year? Was it 13 when Romain Grosjean won just as his contract was,
Yes, and he was sort of
Lotus was up for
awkwardly
renewal?
standing there in Lotus overalls, but didn't quite seem like he belonged in them.
Almost like they were a size too small at that point.
I think that's just Romain Grosjean.
What is that name?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's just Romain Grosjean. being
I also
Romain
remember the year that Carl Edwards did ridiculously well and surprised
But anyways-
everyone because it was like, oh, what's this, POS NASCAR driver going to do? Look, we turn right here. What are you going to... Jesus, you won. What the hell? What?
You were capable of
Yep.
turning to the right? Nonsense.
Having said
More
that,
than
Carl
2
Edwards is a
times
pretty
a
good
year.
road course driver.
Hi, Carl Edwards,
Yes.
if you're listening, which you almost certainly are.
Probably
I
not because we
didn't
just
slag it,
slagged off
well.
NASCAR.
I defended NASCAR.
There we
Okay,
go.
I might have
Um,
slagged off
well-
NASCAR for 10 minutes.
Well, I mean, yeah. It's overbearing in the U.S. If you're
That's
a
understandable. I
motorsports
mean,
fan of
It
another
is.
series, but that is the most popular motorsport, so it
Oh,
should
beyond
get the most
beyond a
publicity.
shadow of a doubt, and it
Okay.
has been since
Yeah.
the late
Okay,
90s.
bringing this back to some semblance of order, let's discuss...
That's long past
Yeah,
that.
That was tangent hour. We're done with
Yes,
that.
tangent end. Until the next one begins in 3 minutes. But anyway, WEC Mexico City. What do we think is going to go on there?
A Porsche and Audi will win.
I think Porsche is going to win. Either Porsche or Audi will win. Audi will have to win on strategy.
Toyota will
Porsche
crash
will
out
have
with
to
the
cap
last,
out
on the last
speed.
lap.
Yeah, they'll have turbo issues. So, okay, again.
Hashtag 23 hours and 57
So again, for
minutes
someone
on
who
the clock.
hasn't really paid attention to this, slap on the wrist. I'm sorry. What the hell have they done to Mexico City? Because the last I saw of it would have been 2007 with a NASCAR bush race.
So they put a baseball stadium in. That's what they've done. Or they've taken a baseball stadium out and put a racetrack in.
Oh,
instead,
that's promising.
where the
More
stadium
road.
was. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically they cut into the baseball stadium and do a little Mickey Mouse section.
Oh no, there
Like
isn't
chicane.
Tilka style dopey.
And it is exactly Tilka style.
There is a
and
Tilka
they've taken
section.
away the Peraltada,
Yeah,
yes.
Peraltada has had its balls chopped off.
And so yeah, mixed feelings about that though, because I think the WEC cars will be definitely more exciting than Formula One was there, and possibly more exciting than they would be with the big Peraltada turn.
Right.
Just because the nature of the acceleration from the hybrids coming out of that section.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think it'll look really cool there.
So I've just got the track map up to have a look at it. I see exactly what they've done. They got rid of the best corner on the circuit, of course, because that's what happens nowadays.
Arguably, yeah.
How amazing would it be to
Yeah,
see a
the Peraltada.
P1 try and go round their flat? The old one. Because they would. They'd be like, oh, can we
Yes,
do
that
this?
would
Can we
be-
do this? Can we do this? It'd be amazing to
Make it
watch.
work.
Come on, stick! You know you want to! That's really sad that they've... That's really sad that they've cut that corner.
That would be cool. I just wonder if putting that corner would be too dangerous because there's not enough room to have a runoff area.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I remember
All
rightly, there
there.
was just barrier all the way around the outside of that. So if
Yeah,
someone has an
I
accident,
think
that's just going to scale up into something horrific.
Oh, it would. Yeah, not worth it. But it would be, I think, pretty damn exciting to see it that way. But it's also going to be pretty exciting to see it with that stadium section. And also, you got to think about the fans that are sitting in the baseball stadium. Oh,
That
those cars
shot
are
is
right
gonna
up to
look
them.
amazing.
You know,
Yeah,
they're
that's
gonna
true.
have the best view of multiple corners. That's turns 13, 14, 15.
This,
Yeah,
15 isn't really a
I'm gonna-
turn, but,
right.
I'm going to
yeah.
come out and
Just a little jink, but Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to come out and say it. This is going to be the best attended
What?
WEC
I think could be,
event
yeah.
outside of Le Mans.
No, I think because the Mexican crowd loves racing. We saw that with Formula One and NASCAR.
Really?
Mexico loves racing.
Oh, today I learned.
Yes.
Yeah. When NASCAR came there, it was epic. I think Cart went there, right? Yeah.
I mean,
Cart
hell, even the
absolutely
Grand
went.
Am races, I dare say, probably.
Grand Am, yeah.
Grand Am race there. I've seen that. I've watched that race.
Yeah, it's fantastic crowd there.
It will. That shot coming into the going through the baseball stadium. If they get the right camera angle, that shot.
I'm just
will
picturing
look
like the
spectacular.
R18 passing an Aston Martin through there.
Yeah.
Because everything will pass an
my
Aston
God,
Martin
it
at
will be
this point.
amazing. Because the shots.
I'm looking
that's
forward
so
to the next
sad.
car.
Rest in peace.
Next year. Their new car next year. Because it'd be nice to see him at the sharp end again. Because when I saw WEC for the first time last year, the Aston Martins were easily the quickest GTE car there. Like, they just blew everything away. And then this year, they were like, look, we've got this really cool new livery, and we're last. Well
They
done.
were last at Silverstone. They weren't that quick at Le Mans, but they did get quicker at the Nürburgring.
Well, that was after
a
That was, if I
mixed conditions. Yeah.
but if I remember rightly, that was due to a BOP change because they
And
gave the Porsche and the Aston a little bit more
Yeah.
horsepower.
If
I remember rightly.
Oh yeah.
if they balance them any farther down to the Aston, a Bentley GT3 car could
Do
enter.
you know what?
Really
It's
do
about
well.
time WEC just went sod it and ran GT3
Yeah, you are.
But
for
they won't.
Pro and Am. It'll never happen, I know, but it
That's-
should.
But
Whoa, you're getting into a
forget-
whole nother.
Yeah, because you forget that FIACO and SRO hate each other.
Yeah, you're getting into a whole other discussion there.
Yeah, I know.
With, inviting GT3 into WEC. Let's leave that. No, it's alright.
I was about to say, it's a discussion that we do not even have time or enough alcohol to answer.
Well, yeah. As always, I'd like to see. I would like to see Toyota and Ford do well because those are my teams in WEC.
Though Mexico will be interesting to watch from a technical standpoint, just because it will be the first time we see these cars running in that super high downforce configuration.
And in
Where it's
low-
actually meant to be
low,
run.
High altitude, the word I'm trying to say.
That's what I meant by.
Yeah,
in
for
Now, here's a
preset
question.
place
For
it's
whatever
actually
reason, my
supposed to
brain
be
was
running.
trying to say low oxygen. Or low
Well, that's
atmosphere?
technically correct.
Yes, but
Yeah, it's a year
but
and a
it's
half,
not
right?
what I'm
So
doing.
here's a question:
Kind of.
which track has the higher altitude, Mexico City or Fuji?
Almost certainly Mexico City. Hang on, let me find out.
Really? Because I mean, Fuji's
Mexico
right there
City,
by
without a
Mount
doubt.
Fuji, so surely it's quite high up already.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So
hence the name.
no, I wouldn't have thought Mexico would be really that high up, but I don't know.
I mean, you wouldn't expect a track called Kilimanjaro to be located near Everest, would you?
Yes, all right, Pat, you've made your point.
Alright, I'll stop taking the piss now, I'm sorry.
Back about the aero kits though, because there are new aero kits for all three teams for the high downforce and low and high altitude track. That is Mexico. Audi's high downforce was perhaps not as quick as they thought it would be at Nürburgring, with Porsche kind of running away with it, didn't they?
That whole bloody
Yeah,
car
yeah,
is
because
as
it
fast
looks
as they thought it
terrible.
would be.
Fighting some speed issues, but then Toyota with probably the worst of the high downforce kits.
Go figure. They were also terrible at
Not even-
Silverstone, which in theory is a high downforce circuit.
Right, so this could be a big blow to their championship hunt. After, remember, only one car got on the podium at Le Mans, and they haven't had much luck in the other three races as well this year. So, if they're going to fight for the championship, they're going to have to turn it around. They're going to have to make the most of this race, hope for some attrition from the German teams, and kick them at
Fuji. Fuji's going to be there.
Because
Fuji's going to be their thing to
that's their
lose.
track.
I have an
Yeah.
answer for you on which one is higher. It is by far Mexico City. Mexico
Oh,
City,
really?
the lowest altitude in the city of Mexico City is 2,250 meters. The highest altitude at Fuji Speedway, 580 meters.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Oh, by
1.5
far and away.
kilometers different.
Okay. I'll be over here in this corner asking more stupid questions if you need them.
Good.
I'll be in the other corner doing the same thing.
Okay, so it looks like the current lap record is a 123.5.
We're doing the same thing.
That'll be a
No, that's
different
for
layout.
Champ Car's lap record. So
Oh,
back
that's
in
not going to be that
07.
amazing, because when was the last time they were... Oh, never mind.
Last year.
I was thinking, they
It's
haven't
not
been there
gonna
since
be
the
that
80s.
amazing, no.
Oh, wait, no, they haven't.
It might be.
No, so current lap record is
120.
120.5.
Qualifying was a 119.4 by Rosberg last year.
119, bloody hell.
Yeah, Rosberg,
Yes.
except that's qualifying. Unofficial lap record.
So, yeah, I think we'll probably see the cars definitely under 130. Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt, especially since, they still have a rather large power advantage
Over putt little six-cylinder turbos, yes.
over F1.
And I suspect that may be what's the word I'm looking for? Made more prevalent with the high altitude and being able to turn the turbos up a bit more than F1 will be able to.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. How about LMP2? We've gotten to the
Well,
main
But
class,
Dan,
what do we
we've
think?
skipped your favorite. We've skipped Rebellion.
oh, right.
How could
I
we
see.
forget?
What class? We've done P1. Oh, right, P1
Oh, no!
privateer is considered a class. I
P1
forgot.
Privateers. So there is some news in that actually.
Ah.
As I briefly mentioned earlier, Rebellion will have one car from this point going forward the rest of 2016. They're pulling the number 13 car, if I'm
I
not
believe
mistaken.
they're pulling the 12.
Or they're pulling the 12. Yeah, they're pulling the 12 car because that's in front in the championship. And they had to pull one to get ready for next year, but they chose to pull one in front to make life more competitive for Bicalls.
Wow. That's such a weird idea to me.
I know.
To pull the car that's leading in the championship because we want
It's
them
a
to
very
compete.
weird
That's
idea.
so strange.
It's because
Well, it's a struggling class at this
Which,
point.
Yeah,
well,
but-
yes.
Rebellion care about the health of the class.
Yes, because they are the
Yeah.
class.
They
so-
are the class, although surely
Yeah.
the health would come from cars on grid, so you'd want to keep two cars because three cars is better than two,
Yes,
but
they,
whatever.
They would like to keep competition other than themselves.
Yes, I understand it. There's two sides of an argument there.
Yes.
Which, because I don't, again, this is me just failing to pay attention at life. Is it, out of the two Rebellion cars, the one they're pulling, is that the Nick Heidfeld car, or is it the other one?
Yes, they are pulling the Nick Heidfeld car. It's
Okay,
Nick Heidfeld, Nicola Frost, and Nelson Piquet Jr.
wow, okay, so that's some pretty hefty names suddenly out of a job.
Exactly. Well, not out of a job, but out of a drive for the rest of 2016.
Okay,
yeah,
out of a
at
proper
WEC.
racing drive, because one-to-one RC car racing does not count. Assuming
those
they're
of
all
you
in
who-
Formula E
right.
still.
Yes, I was gonna say.
Yeah, in fact, all three of those guys are Formula E drivers, so they will be kept busy with other things. But yeah,
They won't be
It's-
needing earplugs.
it's unfortunate for them. You don't want to see that happening, but you'd hope that they'll come back very strong with their 2017 car with the active aero and all the new fancy upgrades that P1 Privateer.
Oh, that's right, they're getting DRS next year, aren't they?
Yes.
They are, yeah. Not sure how that's going to factor in,
But doing it
that is
well.
the plan.
It's not going to be any of this within 1 second nonsense. It's
It's
use
just
it when
a
you
s-
like it.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, because that way someone's going to get overeager and spin out.
Yes. It's back
Brilliant.
it's back with what F1 should have done with the DRS, which is what they did.
It's
for
what
practice.
DTM currently uses it. I think that's how DTM currently uses it.
Gentlemen, breaking news out of from Mr. Marshall
Go on, then.
Pruitt. The number 22 WeatherTech Racing Porsche is expected to announce the conclusion of its season in GTD.
With Cooper on board?
Yes, that's their full season car, not the 77,
Copy
which
that.
was the Road America only entry.
So they're gonna have no cars then.
The number 22 program run by Alex Job would likely shift to PWC series for the remainder of 2016. It is believed the withdrawal is rooted in an ongoing dispute with IMSA regarding BLP tables created for the 911.
I wonder if that's also
Agreed.
in part due to the. Nope, never mind.
All right.
Yeah, looks like their best finishes for the year are 5th. I mean, I don't blame them for wanting to leave, but I really wish they would have been able to see the season through. This just seems like a half-ass cop-out way
It's
of throwing your toys
little
on.
bit poor sportsmanship, in my opinion. But it's also a lot of money to run these programs, so I can't really comment, being that I only just heard this article.
Well,
Yeah.
that and the
I'm
McNeil
guessing-
family is
I'm
not only
guessing
funding that car, but also the series.
That car, but the series as a whole. I'm guessing his final ploy was, I pay the bills, you give me the performance break. You give my team the performance break. They said no. He said, all right then, goodbye. And he couldn't pull out of the contract, the series contract, because I'm guessing lawyers. But they went, okay, I'm pulling my car. But no, I'm honestly surprised to see that that Park Place hasn't said any. I haven't heard anything out of Park Place about their problems, because they're currently sitting 10th in the
championship.
They're current
Words.
championship. God,
That was quite the brain
Oh my
fart
gosh.
there. Well done.
That thing
Oh,
that we're all
God, you have
fighting
no
for.
The
idea.
thing with the points
thing
and
with
the cup.
money and the races and
that was absolutely a brain fart. But the 23 car will
Yes.
continue in
Seems
GTD.
reasonable.
Okay. So Alex Job race is still going, but just not the WeatherTech one. Yeah. Okay.
Alex, yep.
Yes.
I like how other comes before.
Which I absolutely do understand, because that's actually entered and sponsored by a separate company. But I guess I'm just kind of disappointed in David in them sort of just throwing their toy, and like I said earlier, throwing their toys out of the pram because they didn't get the breaks they wanted to.
It has just been pointed out by a friend that that we're getting title sponsors of the series pulling out of both the both IMSA and NASCAR at the moment.
At this point, yes.
Yes.
And I have practice till 2 o'clock.
The WeatherTech is not leaving
Yes,
as a
but
title
still, they're
sponsor.
pulling out
leaving
in
their
some-
car.
I never had breakfast.
Some
I had coffee and
respect.
cigarette for breakfast.
But not as severe
Well,
as Sprint
just to put
going.
this in
We're not
perspective,
sponsoring the series.
ESM did pull out of the championship partly last year, and they are a
This is true.
title sponsor as well with the Trump.
This is true.
But for
Yes,
for a
yes.
small championship
But, yeah,
within the
they
championship.
they pulled out altogether last year and only doing the endurance this year. But yeah,
I'm guessing we're gonna. Considering the way that ESM season is going in Europe, I wouldn't be surprised if they enter IMSA full time next year.
Yeah. Yes, silence.
Stop making fun of it.
well, we're
Silence?
mulling it over
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
Making fun
I mean, think about it. 2 out of the 3 races they've entered this year, they have won. Whereas over in Europe, what's their best finish? A second?
They haven't done well in the WEC.
But then again, this is really their first
but it's the
full
first
season.
Right.
Here we go.
They are on the overall
True,
prototype
true.
table. They're in 14th overall in drivers' points with Durrani, Dial, and Cumming. In the LMP2 Championship, they are in they're in fourth again. With
bad
those
going.
3 drivers.
How many full-time cars are there in P2?
There's
I want to say
more
8.
than 6, and that's
There's
only.
I want to say
Stracker,
8.
Morand, Alpine, SMP, ESM. Those are the teams, and then some of them run more than
There's
one
10
car.
teams.
Bro.
Sorry. There's 10 separate
And Morand.
cars
Did I say Morand? I think I said
racing for
Morand.
the championship.
So they're still in the top 50th
Yes,
50th percentile.
they are
That's good.
fourth. I did
Oh,
not
and
have them
G-Drive.
fourth overall. They had second, 8th, and 3rd are their results for the 31 car. So not a bad season by any means.
Not shabby.
So yeah, I'll take back what I said before.
Yeah, I believe the 31 car was my pick for the P2 win at Silverstone, just because I saw it dominate at Daytona a few
They
months
got
previous. I was
close.
like, I know that's a
Yeah.
quick car. That's going to be something.
Yeah.
Even though Silverstone's a bit different to Daytona, it's still going to do well.
Yeah,
Cause that's
Daytona.
I think
Daytona
also,
didn't
Damn
involve
rocket.
snow.
Yeah,
Oh,
Although it
I've
was
been going
cold.
to race. I have been going to racing circuits since I was about 4 years old. I have never experienced snow at a racetrack until this year. That was the ridiculous thing I ever experienced. Ever. No,
You've
I
obviously
don't
never
live in
gone
France,
ice
so
racing.
no.
Aw.
I should do it
I
some
suggest
point.
you try it. It's really fun.
That's a game we need. Ice racing. Anyway, sorry. Moving on.
GT2 sort of had that.
Yeah.
They had the Vauxhall Tigra ice race car back in the day.
Very nice.
Oh my god,
Okay.
you're right. Oh, flashbacks.
So, has anyone been keeping up with the Formula One at all? Anyone?
little
Hey,
bit.
Dan,
Mercedes, right?
Congratulations,
No.
Dan.
Oh, did I
Speak.
just back myself?
Yes.
Here.
Speak.
Oh man.
Talk about it.
Formula One. What to say about Formula One? Well, it's gotten better, hasn't it?
I don't know.
You've done a
tell me.
thing.
The last race, the last race was in Hungary.
Was it?
That was yes, it was. I can say that for a fact.
Good.
I see I'm on my own here, as my colleagues have clearly not done their homework on the Formula One, on the official FIA WEC feeder series.
Yes.
I might add.
See.
True.
How could you not know about the feeder series?
No.
Does that make so? As GP2 and DTM tend to be the feeder series for Formula One, does that make them the
Yes.
feeder series of the feeder series for WEC?
What?
It is. It's
What does that
unfortunate,
make-
but they are third on the totem
What does that
pole.
make GP3? Wow.
Let's not go down this rabbit
yeah,
hole.
yeah.
Let's not.
Yeah. And then if you
My head starts to
and
hurt
then
now. Stop.
And then on this note, Formula E must be the equivalent of like going and playing golf because they all do.
Yes. Yes.
All of
They
them
are-
except
it's
for
racing version of golf. That's brilliant. Because that's true. Drivers from all disciplines do Formula E.
yes, except for Formula One because they think they're too good for it.
Well, they have stricter contracts.
Details. Details.
But yeah, Formula One contracts are very, very limited.
Yes, indeed.
Fine.
Do you want to hear about Hungary or
Sure.
does
Now
no
tell
one-
us about Hungary.
All right, so a German car won, completing all 70 laps in an hour and 40
Was it
minutes.
a German car being driven by I'm German or a Brit?
It was a Brit
Ooh,
driving the German
some
car.
some.
Oh, come on. We all know that Lewis Hamilton is more Los Angeles than London.
Unfortunately, this is true.
That is very true. It was so Justin Bieber in the Mercedes.
It's Brittany.
Brittany, yes. Followed by another German car. This one was only about 2 seconds behind, so clearly one of the closer races of the season. In third was an Australian, sponsored by a drinks company. In he was about half.
Who
a minute
has
back.
the
So,
blessing of a racing god? I might add.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm talking about the Dale Earnhardt number 3 that he has on his helmet. Continue.
Yes.
The blessing
he
of a
does
racing god.
Have, Dale Earnhardt's number 3 riding with him. So he was in third, and then there was an Italian car in fourth, driven by a German.
Was it red?
It was red,
Good.
yes. He was only about a second behind the Aussie, so that must have been pretty exciting.
Almost in
And,
DRS range.
Be care-
Wow.
Be careful. This is all this mention of nations is starting to sound like that sports event we're not allowed to talk about again.
The O word.
Yes.
The one that they destroyed Yakropazgo
Yes, that-
for?
The one with the virus and the green water.
Yes.
The rainbow, the rainbow Audi thing.
Yes.
Yeah. The fake Audi logo.
The cheap knockoff of the Audi logo.
So that's your Hungarian Grand Prix results. I wish I could say I watched it, but I did not. I was in where was I during the Hungarian Grand Prix? This was 24th of July, so I was at Lime Rock and watching WEC.
That's
You mean PWs? No, WEC. What the hell?
I think that was a Lime Rock weekend, Formula One. They've had a bit of a break since then, so this is kind of old news by now. They'll return to racing in a couple weeks' time in Belgium, a track we all love, Spa-Francorchamps, and carry on from there for the rest of the season, which is really kind of packed.
so. For those of us who haven't really been paying attention to the season at all, would you be able to give us a rundown on? Well, you've paid more attention than us, so would you be able to give us a rundown on, like, the standings and whatnot? Like, I'm interested. I'm genuinely interested to see how Renault and Haas. God, I nearly said Roush for some reason.
Well done.
Haas are doing in their quote unquote inaugural years.
I can update you on that as soon as I update you on another embarrassing fact that the Hungarian Grand Prix was not the last race they did. It was, in fact, Hockenheim.
Ah,
Oh, you mean German track number 1?
you,
German
Which
track
was-
number 1, yes.
But which was only watched by about 20,000 people in the stands, so it kind of didn't
that's okay. It was watched by half as many on television, so
Do you know what? That's
Zing!
a fantastically ironic thing, Pat, because the reason why they changed Hockenheim in the first place was because
we should briefly explain why.
It was too
We
exciting.
should briefly
no,
explain why
they
we
changed
refer to
it
that.
because they didn't have enough spectator areas in the forest.
Well, now they have no spectators.
Exactly.
They
There's
can
the
go back to the
irony. I'm
forest.
done.
But I think they should just let all those immigrants in for free to make the stands look full.
Oh.
We should briefly
Topical humor!
point out why we refer to it as German track number 1.
That's an in joke that myself and my friend Paul made up quite a while ago. Because on Formula 198, the video game,
Oh yeah.
they never got licensing rights to use Jacques Villeneuve and his name. So
Hang on.
he was always the young Canadian or driver number 1.
Hang on. Can we use his name?
Do tell.
Possibly.
Possibly what?
Is it like the O word?
Maybe. The V word. Not that one.
There's another V word.
The bold one.
Anyway,
But yes, because they completely and utterly destroyed Hockenheim, right? So that track is just completely awful, and it's just a fraction of a shadow of what Hockenheim used to be. So we're like, it doesn't even deserve the name Hockenheim anymore because it's such a bastardization of the old circuit. So we'll call it German track number 1,
yes.
and that's where
Fair enough.
the joke came from. Was us playing a crappy old Formula 1 game from back in well, it wasn't crap, but you know, an old Formula 1 game from back in the day.
Yes.
It is the British driver leading the championship, by the way, on 217 points, ahead of the German with a 198. It's been an interesting season because just a quick synopsis. Nico kind of ran away with the first 4 races, and then they both crashed. And ever since then, ever since Spain, it's been really Hamilton winning. I think Nico got 1 in there at the non-European Grand Prix, but yeah, it's been more interesting than previous seasons. We should give F1 more credit for that. They have actually been racing each other this year. That's a new concept that Mercedes has figured out. Letting the drivers race each other. It's had mixed results, usually ending in tears, with carbon fiber bunnies thrown out of the aerodynamic stroller.
The aerodynamic stroller that, for reasons of testing restrictions, happens to be in the shape of a rear wing.
Now,
Yes.
what would McLaren call a baby buggy?
A
small
device for
wheeled
transporting young offspring of Homo
A
sapiens.
personal infantile transportation unit.
Transportation
I would think they
Solution.
they
yes.
would call it a.
Well, hopefully it's something that'll get them out of 7th in the Constructors' Championship.
Oh god.
Because that is where they are.
So, have McLaren actually managed to finish in front of anyone? And by that I mean anyone that hadn't DNF'd in that race.
We're talking about Germany, that is?
No, I'm talking the whole season. Has McLaren actually managed to do
Oh.
a half-decent finish at all that's in front of another car? Literally on pace.
Oh, they have. Yeah. I mean, it's not been as great as last year, as they've only had one fifth place finish. I think last year Alonso had 2 fifth places, but
Well, there's 2 extra cars on the grid this year.
there are. Yeah,
It
And
got that
he's
much harder.
Yeah, it has, and McLaren Honda has not had the pace improvement that they thought they would. We keep expecting that car to get better because, after all, you couldn't go wrong with the names McLaren or Honda, seemingly.
Especially when it's a
But,
V6 turbo.
Exactly. Yeah, you'd think that's a killer combination, but they continue to finish behind Toro Rosso, Force India, Williams. You expect them to be up in the end with Mercedes and Red Bull and Ferrari, but they're just not there anymore. It's really a shame. I think the last competitive season they had was either 2012 or 2013. I don't think they've won a race since 2012, to be honest,
Wow.
which is a real shame. So yeah, stuff to improve on. I'm not a Formula One expert, unfortunately, so
That's okay.
I can't say what there is to improve on, but I know
Oh, there's lots.
That's okay, Dan.
I'm sure they have all types of
But
tiny aero bits figured out.
We could
to,
sit here for days reminiscing, or no, not reminiscing, suggesting what F1 could do to improve itself.
Well, they made the tires wider for next year.
Yeah, that's something.
50% more mechanical grip, 6% less
that-
aero grip, and 50% more power.
Hopefully, we'll increase the passing count, the overtaking.
It will probably increase the people going for an overtake on the inside, and because these drivers have no peripheral vision anymore because the sides are so high and the mirrors are so small, not being sighted and bouncing over the other car. I dare say we'll see more of that next year with wider tyres.
You hope so.
I think
Also,
You'd hope not, mate.
I say you hope so because nothing in Formula One ever goes as planned.
Yep.
An update on the American team. They are 8th in the constructors with Haas Ferrari on 28 points total. They've had a 5th place finish as well. That's their best. They've had a couple of non-points finishes lately, and still their driver in the number 21 car still on 0 points.
Which
You
one's
you know
that?
you can name the drivers, right?
Oh, it's Gutierrez, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he wasn't particularly good when he was at Sauber.
Sauber.
I think it was Sauber.
No.
Was it-
No, he wasn't. It was Force India for a time, and wasn't it? It was a test driver.
I think he was a test driver at Force India. I want to say he was in a Sauber or something slower than that, like maybe the Marussia. All I remember of Gutierrez is him getting Maldonado'd at Singapore, I think it was, where his car just did a very neat little flip in the air and then landed on its wheels again.
That is right.
Because
yeah.
Maldonado was Maldonado and went, I'm going to do an overtake! Oh, it went wrong.
Is he the one? Was that Singapore? Or was it Bahrain? where
No, because it was
Maldonado
definitely.
came out of the pits. Who flipped in the Sauber at Bahrain
No idea.
in the first corner?
I remember it was.
I know who
I remember
you're
it was
talking
Singapore because it was nighttime. Was the one I'm talking about.
I
Yeah.
think,
This was night too though, so I'm
Yeah.
wondering if it was.
I think
if
it was
the same
it was
thing.
Bahrain, and it was. I want to say it was Maldonado that rolled.
It's entirely possible.
I definitely remember it was. Yeah. Well, anyway.
Man, Maldonado needs to go
not-
play in a
not
stock
really
car.
Captivating details here.
Maldonado needs to go play in a stock car. It would be perfect for him.
He
No, it's
does,
Gutierrez
yeah.
that ended up
Be,
upside down.
Quite a lot of torn up sheet metal.
Yes,
Guys, Gutierrez was the one that ended up upside down and rolled.
and he would probably get punched, but it'd be perfect for him. Right. So this weekend, what's going on?
Are Formula One back?
They're not, I don't believe, but GT Asia is,
Ooh.
and I have some stuff to say about
Go
that.
ahead.
Dan,
Go on.
go on with your GT Asia.
GT Asia is a fantastic championship. That's not sarcastic,
That's
by
a
the way.
sentence
I'm
no
just
one's
doing that
ever
for-
said.
Well, it's actually really good racing. I was watching some last night. The last round was in Fuji, and it was won by it's basically like the Blancpain Sprint Series. So you have exactly the same format, 2 1-hour races, mandatory pit stop halfway, driver change. You got a pro and an am. It's literally the same cars, but with Asian teams running them. In that part of the world, and it's equally as entertaining as Blancpain Sprint, I'd say. However, there's a few less cars, but I think they make up for it in the closeness of their BOPs. Just somehow they've gotten it perfect the last couple races. And yeah, the race coming up this weekend is I think it's on the 20th and 21st from Shanghai. You got some big names in it. If you follow GT racing,
Is Tom Papadopoulos in it? That's
Michael-
a big name.
What about Adam Christodoulou?
Adam Christodoulou,
he
there
is
we
not,
go.
but he is not. But you got Michael Lyons in
That's not very big.
Porsche with not a very long name, but a very meaningful name.
Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, is he there? That's pretty long.
That's a big name.
He's not. I think you're missing my point.
My God, tangents again. Question.
Okay.
Yes.
Question.
There's a huge. Yeah. Sorry.
Does the GT Asia series run the same BOP as Blancpain?
The short answer to that is I don't know, but I would assume so.
Okay, so like whatever Blancpain. So if Blancpain like limits the power of this car, GT Asia would do the same thing.
I'm not so sure about that because it's different tracks.
Well, that's true.
We will come back to GT Asia if we have time. However, let's follow some series that, frankly, some people will probably watch.
Okay, then. We've got I believe NASCAR is at Bristol. Yos.
Can confirm. Have a friend that's going.
Oh, very nice. Yos. I love Bristol. Looking forward to that one.
The world's longest conveyor belt.
It's brilliant. They need more short tracks, especially concrete ones that are high banked.
They do.
IndyCar is at Pocono,
Pocono.
so they're on big, scary oval.
9 wide down the front stretch. That's all.
9 wide. That's the entire field, isn't it?
No.
It's almost half the field.
That makes more sense.
Swinny, it's literally everyone's third.
Yeah.
Who
Do
else?
you know
is
that?
Where else are we racing?
That might be it.
Hang on, let me find out.
Part of me wants to say there's a DTM race this weekend.
Majors
That's
Tour is
not
over.
racing.
I was about to say SCCA Majors Tour ended last weekend at Grattan, so we're kind of sitting on our hands until the runoffs.
So that's the club racing.
Okay. Anything like Jack suggested that people watch? Because so far our attempts have been.
I'm gonna pull a WeatherTech here and throw my toes out of the pram and go home.
Go ahead.
Well, actually, there is WeatherTech racing on this weekend. Did we mention that?
There is?
There is. From
VIR.
from the VIR.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
how did I miss that?
Good question.
I am now looking at...
It's the GT cars, not the full field there.
Oh, okay, so it's not-
GT, LM, and
But that's usually the best race of the year as well.
I'm now looking at the...
Oh, I don't know.
Sure.
Dan, Mr. I Heart Prototypes Hounsel would agree with that.
I don't know if I would agree
VIR
with
over the
that.
last couple of years has been pretty fucking spectacular.
Oh, it's a great race. Don't get me wrong, but I would much rather have the full field there, especially because it's a
Oh,
big
yeah,
enough
me
track.
too,
They have
but-
room for them.
But for
Yeah,
for what it is, purely on racing, it's probably the best.
I have looked up and used the wonderfully helpful Andy Blackmore's racing calendar.
Plug.
Yes, shameless plug. He's not.
I should have plugged that,
He's
yeah.
not paying us to do this. It's just really good. Bonneville Speed Week is this week.
That's right.
Ooh,
Wish I'd paid more attention to that because, frankly, that's really interesting.
hang on, the
to me.
Kiwis and the Mini were there a
Yes.
week early then.
Brennan Hartley's
Yes.
brother is there.
Shea Holbrook is there.
Monterey.
Nico Prost.
Danny
is there.
Danny Thompson has already broken a class record in a car built in 1968.
I was right on my hunch, by the way. DTM are at Moscow this weekend.
Bro, it will be good DTM race, I promise.
Wow.
MotoGP.
The DTM at the most boring track on the schedule.
That's
Yeah,
Norris
it's gonna be
ring.
amazing, right?
Moto
The Norris ring is fantastic. What are you talking
Nobody
It's
passed.
a bit boring.
Super Formula are at Motegi.
Ooh. And if they stream that, I'd watch it, but they don't stream it, so I can't watch it.
Well,
about?
they
Yeah,
did.
Super Formula is a proper
Super
race
Formula
series.
is
They don't
the
actually stream
tits.
it. Super Formula. I would watch Super Formula instead of Formula
I would
1.
too,
Put that out there right now.
just to hear the Japanese
They streamed it.
commentators go fucking
Yeah.
nuts.
And then say and bring out a stream of Japanese and then say James Rossiter at the end of it
But, yep.
in English.
Or Andre Lauderer.
Yeah.
MotoGP at Brno. The Manx
Good track.
The Manx GP is going on.
Ooh, that's Irish road racing. That'll be ballsy as hell.
It's not Irish road racing. It's on the Isle of Man, dear.
Well, road racing, whatever.
Yes, I know. It starts on Friday and continues through the 31st. No, pardon me.
Do you know where the Isle of
second-
Man is?
Pardon me. Yes, I'm well aware of where the Isle of Man is.
It's in between Britain and Ireland, so
Yes.
Irish, close enough.
Irish road racing encompasses both the Isle of Man and Ireland.
1 minute remaining. We have NHRA at Brainerd.
Yeah! Don't go, it'll suck. Because you have to pay $200 for a good seat.
Wow.
What, to go watch cars go in a straight line for 3 seconds?
Yeah.
You're
Patrick Poloni, promoter of motorsports throughout the world. Don't go.
No, it's a trap.
European Rally Championships at Hockenheim. World Rally Championships in Germany. I'm assuming
That's something we didn't talk about.
Something is at Ulster. I have no idea what it is. It's been cut off. There's
Very quickly,
Go ahead.
on
You've
rallying
got
news,
15 seconds.
Rally China got cancelled.
That's
Moving
true.
on.
Okay, moving on. VLN round. ADAC GT is at Zandvoort, and it's Monterey Historic / Pebble Beach. And that's 4 seconds remaining. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for listening, and
Goodbye.
now bugger off.